This is Mrs. Rogers' Kitchen, and I'm Mrs. Rogers. Today we're going to show you how to make brownies in the microwave using foil in about 10 minutes. Start to table, 10 minutes. I like all kinds of mixes and stuff, but I wanted to show you that you can actually make a pretty simple brownie from scratch and still do it very quickly. First of all, they want us to get a half of a cup of solid fat of some kind. It can be real butter, it can be butter flavored Crisco, it could be even shortening, just plain old shortening, but it cannot be, it couldn't be margarine with water mixed in, like these low calorie margarines that say 40% like water. It will totally ruin your brownies. We're measuring our solid fat using the water displacement method of measuring. So we put 1.5 cups of cold water in a measuring cup because we need a half a cup of solid fat. And we're going to put solid fat in here until the water line reaches 2 cups. This is the most accurate way of measuring. If you use a cup like this, you can't see when you have like air bubbles and stuff in the bottom of it. And this way you can see every little bit. The main thing now that we have that measured is we need to dump out the water. So hold on to the fat when you dump out the water, or else the fat all ends up in the sink and you got to start all over. We're going to cream this solid fat, a half a cup of solid fat with 1 cup of sugar. I've got 1/3 cup here, so I can just measure 3 of these quickly. And we're going to put in a teaspoon of vanilla to kind of help these two blend together. Remember to always measure over a container, not the one that you actually have your food in, because a cap of this is about 1 teaspoon. And we're going to mix these together and blend them until we're actually dissolving some of the sugar into the fat. So you see we've got this all blended. There's no more fat chunks in here. They're all blended and mixed with the sugar really well. And now we're going to mix in 2 eggs, and I usually just use a knife or something and hit the egg. That way you keep from ending up with some of the egg on the counter or some on the floor. Always look at your egg, make sure that it's fresh and wholesome. And one of the indications of how fresh your egg is the yolk should stand up nice and round, and it does. You also are looking for any kind of like little imperfections in the egg that would tell you that you don't want to use that egg. You know, if there's little red spots or something, I always throw them out. We're going to blend this together really well. Our next ingredients are going to be a half a cup of sifted flour, which this flour is already sifted. Some of you don't have sifters at home. You can use a strainer if you have a strainer. A sifted cup of flour, overfill it, and then level it off like that. That's a sifted cup of flour. When you buy your flour and it's not sifted, it's going to be packed down. And there's about 1 tablespoon less in a non-sifted cup of flour. And at this point, I'm not going to stir it right now. Than there is in a sifted cup of flour. And so if you don't have a sifter, just measure your flour and take out 1 tablespoon and you'll be right on target with how much you want. Our next ingredient is like cocoa. You can get cocoa in several different forms. This cocoa is liquid and just ready to go in our brownies. It works great. Sometimes I buy the little squares, but a lot of times I don't have either one. So this equals 1 square of cocoa, and we just squeeze it out. It's all, you know, already thin and ready to go. Just use your cocoa. It works great if you don't have the other kind of chocolate. 1 square cocoa is 3 tablespoons of cocoa powder and 1 tablespoon of oil. And so just get your oil, measure it over something else again, so the extra is not going to end up in your batter if you overfill it by accident. And that's actually our last ingredient. We're just going to stir these a little. We're not going to stir them a lot because at this point when the flour's in there, your batter can actually get tough if you over stir it. So don't stir it more than 50 times. So that's good enough. We're going to stop with that. This recipe calls for an 8x8 pan. So, while I'm fixing my pan, I'm going to heat up my coffee. My coffee's getting cold. So we're going to use a glass 8x8 pan because we're going to put these brownies in the microwave. In the normal oven, they have to cook this recipe. You have to cook this recipe for 30 minutes. In the microwave, it's gonna cook in about 6 minutes or so. If you guys use a mix, like I do most of the time when I'm at home and just in a hurry, you can start and have this recipe easily on the table with people ready to eat in 10 minutes. The problem is in the microwave that these square pans, these corners are going to get overcooked. So take about a 6-inch piece of foil. I can't hardly get it out of here. Tear it in half and then just fold the edge down so it's kind of a nice little edge across there and put it on the corners. And you actually want to go underneath the pan because we want to shield these corners from those microwaves. Microwaves are real high frequency radio waves and they're going to soak into the food about 2 inches. But the corners will get burned and they'll be hard as a rock if you don't shield them in your microwave. So we're shielding all 4 of those corners. And if you did a good job of putting it on there, you can just put it straight in your oven. If it doesn't want to stay on there, use a little piece of Scotch tape to hold it down and it works great. It'll stay on there better for you. We're gonna put this in our microwave for 3 minutes and then we're going to check it. I have a 1200 watt microwave and most of you guys probably do too. So we're not gonna cook this on full power, which is 10. We're gonna cook it on 3 minutes. And so put time cook 300 and then push power. And I'm gonna cook it on a 6, I think. Would be a good guess. That'll be 60% of our power. Cook the brownies for 3 minutes at lower power, and then they seemed like they were doing fine. So I went ahead and put them on for 3 more minutes at a higher power. You can see that the corners we sheltered with the foil are actually the last to cook, but that's okay. They're gonna set up in the little bit of resting time that we're gonna give them right here. You notice that the top of your brownies look a little bit different than they're going to in the oven, and that is gonna always be true. So we're gonna put a topping on to make them look pretty. You can just drop a few chocolate chips on, and the heat of the brownies will melt those chocolate chips, and we can spread them around in a minute. I washed my hands carefully just a second ago. You can, if you don't have a sifter or a strainer, just drop some powdered sugar on there like that. It's prettier if you use a sifter or a strainer and drop it this way and kind of go like that, and then it makes it more of a fine powder, more like a snow, and makes it look really pretty. Then the top is beautiful. My favorite way to cut the brownies is like traditionally with a knife, but when they're sticky and hot, they can get stuck to your knife. So if you dip your knife in hot water, then you can cut them a lot easier. Once it starts sticking, dip it back in the hot water, and that works great. And as soon as the chocolate melts a little bit, we can spread it around. A big pan of brownies, I usually use my pizza cutter. It works great with foods like that. And just cuts them slick as a whistle and quickly. Then I use a knife to fix the corners of it because the pizza cutter will not get down into the corners. If you need to, if they've sat here for 2 minutes and the corners are still a little bit sticky because I have them sheltered really well, you can always put it back in your microwave for like a little bit, like 10 to 15 seconds. Don't overdo that. See if I can get one out because they're very hot and soft. And so I should have gotten a pancake turner, but you can see that they're hot and soft and the chocolate's starting to melt on the top of it. If you used a mix, like I said before, you can have these start to table in about 10 minutes. They will be hot and they are so delicious with ice cream. You will love them. The next video I'm going to show you how to make this popcorn, this caramel corn in the microwave, that much popcorn using a brown paper bag. It's a lot of fun. Kids are going to love it. See you soon. Happy cooking.